All of the various benefits that arise from semen retention are a result of two main factors: an increase in life force energy and a decrease in life force expenditure. It takes a lot of energy for the body to make blood, and it takes a lot more blood to make semen. You will find that in the old writings it was said that semen was derived from blood. Yet in the modern day it is often said that semen is not made from blood. To clarify this point, semen is made from the testes, though the testes draw nutrients from the blood to create the semen. So you could say the semen is not made directly from the blood, but of course it is the blood that supplies the nutrients to create this substance. And I believe it was this process that the old writers implied when they said the semen was made from the blood. The individual who leads a life of chastity. The nervous system is invigorated and strengthened. The special senses, the sight, hearing, etc., are strong, delicate, and acute. The digestive system is kept normal, and the man knows not what a sick day is. The growth of the body is filled out and rounded, and a full measure of years may come. But old age never. For the last days, in their pleasurable enjoyment of good health and a sound mind, are as were the days of his childhood. The brain is enlarged and perfected. Memory grows strong. The perceptive and reflective faculties increase in power, as shown in the ability to originate and execute the calm, self-possessed strength to endure, and the gentleness, courage, generosity, and nobleness of character. The moral sentiments are elevated. Love grows and ripens, and the soul in its exercise reaches up and commingles with the Spirit of God. The reproductive element is preserved in all its life-renewing and life-giving power until full ripeness of years. This is, in part, the difference between a life of licentiousness or semi-continence and a life of strict continence. Which will ye choose? That God intended the reproductive element in mankind to be used only as a means to propagate the species, no clear-minded, right-thinking man can deny, and when used with any other object, it is a waste of one of the finest and most sacred human powers, subtle essences of the soul's interior presence, and it deserves, as it invariably receives, punishment both prompt and lasting. Written over 100 years ago on the benefits of conserving sexual energy. This energy is primarily a part of man's psychic life. This energy can be disposed of in 4 distinct ways. By systematic, regular exercise, this energy will be taken up by the muscles and converted into physical strength. All the trainers of athletes and pugilists understand this law. Great physical strength and endurance will result from the conservation of this energy. Many men who have physical defects would receive great benefits and a prolonged life if they would follow this instruction. By habitual thinking and reading along normal lines, this energy will be utilized by the mind and produce intellectual brilliancy. All thoughtful teachers know that pupils who dissipate this energy do not succeed well in their classes. All original thinkers have a strong sexual nature. Intellectual eminence is impossible among those who waste this energy. If all young men knew and practiced this law, they would rapidly improve their mental powers, and this would increase their capacity for service and result in larger remuneration. By habitual loving, sympathizing with, and helping others, this energy will aid in developing the finer feelings, emotions, and sentiments. It is the expression of this energy that brings young people together in courtship, leads to a happy marriage, blends their individualities, harmonizes their differences, and makes them one. Without this energy, these sacred experiences would be impossible. Where young people have lived continent lives, these experiences have been most ideal. Under the false training received in the past, most young people have gotten the idea that love in marriage is inseparable from sexual gratification, and the more frequent, the happier the couple. This is absolutely unscientific. The wasting of the sexual life before and after marriage is responsible for more divorces than all other causes combined. In the past 12 months, I have brought 3 inharmonious couples who were seeking divorce back to marital harmony and happiness. In each case, the parties confessed to sexual prodigality, saw their error, begged each other's forgiveness, pledged sexual temperance, and renewed their vows. They are happy today. Without the sexual life, the love life of courtship and marriage would be utterly impossible. This being self-evident, it follows that the prodigal waste of this energy destroys the very basis of love. This energy is converted into physical strength when retained in the body and directed to the muscles by the proper exercise. This energy is converted into intellectual brilliancy when retained in the body and directed to the mind by proper mental exercise. This energy is converted into sympathy, sentiment, feeling, and love when retained in the body and directed to the emotional nature by the exercise of the moral powers. Would you have a strong body, a brilliant mind, and a glowing, warm, and loving nature? Then you have before you the way of attainment. Would you enjoy this ideal life for many years? Then you have before you the way of maintenance. In order to understand what gives rise to these benefits, let's briefly look at how constant semen loss may cause detriment. It is often argued that ejaculation only uses up minute levels of nutrients, so that the loss is of no physiological significance. The loss, though, has been shown to be quite significant in terms of cellular energy. The body's energy current, adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, is the primary energy carrier in all living cells. ATP powers vital functions like muscle movement, nerve signals, and the transport of molecules. Without ATP, the body couldn't perform even basic tasks. Cells would stop working, organs would fail, and life wouldn't be sustainable. Research has shown that sperm requires massive amounts of ATP to be produced. This energy is needed for sperm to move, mature, and perform crucial tasks like fertilizing an egg, which means that producing sperm puts a significant demand on the body's ATP supply. A recent 2025 study emphasized that sperm cells depend heavily on both glycogen breakdown and oxygen-based energy production to generate the large amounts of ATP required for movement and successful fertilization. This high ATP demand from sperm production draws energy away from other bodily functions. As the body prioritizes producing ATP for sperm, it risks depleting energy needed for other vital processes, placing significant strain on the body's overall energy reserves. It is no wonder that this drain of energy is halted through sexual abstinence. There is more cellular energy available to use to maintain cellular processes and bodily repairs. I maintain that everything high and ennobling in our nature springs directly out of the sexual instinct. Its alliance is with whatever is purest and most beautiful in us. To it we owe our love of bright colors, graceful forms, melodious sounds, and rhythmical motion. To it we owe the evolution of music, of poetry, of romance, of belles letters, the evolution of painting, of sculpture, of decorative art, of dramatic entertainment. To it we owe the entire existence of our aesthetic sense, which is, as a last resort, only a secondary sexual attribute. From it springs the love of beauty, Around it, all beautiful arts circle as their center. Its subtle aroma pervades all literature, and to it we owe the paternal, maternal, and marital relations, the growth of the affections, the love of little pattering feet and baby laughter, the home with all the dear associations that cluster around it. In one word, the heart and all that is best in it. It is from abstention of sexual gratification and sensual desire that our sexual instinct can return to its most normal state. A perversion of this instinct is a departure from the ways of nature and results in unnatural attributes that manifest themselves in the organism, often in the forms of behavioral and physical deterioration. The constant release of this sexual pressure also weakens the sexual instinct, and it is this instinct which is the origin of much of the aesthetic beauty existing in human and animal. Written in the late 1800s on the power of the sexual instinct. If we look around among the inferior animals, we shall see that the germ of everything which is best in humanity took its rise with them in the sexual instinct. The song of the nightingale or of Shelley's skylark is a song that has been acquired by the bird himself to charm the ears of his attentive partner. The chirp of the cricket, the cheerful note of the grasshopper, the twittering of the sparrow, the pleasant caw of the rookery, all these, Darwin showed, are direct products of sexual selection. Every pleasant sound that greets our ears from hedge or copse in a summer walk has the self-same origin. If we take away from the country the music conferred upon it by the sense of sex, we shall have taken away every charm it possesses, save the murmur of the brooks and the whispering of the breeze through the leaves at evening. No thrush, no linnet, no blackbird would be left, no rattle of the nightjar over the twilight folds, no chirp of insect, no clatter of the tree frog, no cry of the cuckoo from the leafy covert. Every beautiful voice in wild nature, from the mockingbird to the cicada, is the essence of the love call, and without such love calls, the music of the fields would be mute and the forest silent. Not otherwise is it with the beauty which appeals to the eye. Every lovely object in organic nature owes its loveliness directly to sexual selection. The whole aesthetic sense in animals had that for its origin. Every spot on the feathery wings of butterflies was thus produced, every eye on the gorgeous glancing plumage of the peacock, the bronze and golden hue of beetles, the flashing blue of the dragonfly, the brilliant colors of tropical moths, the lamp of the glowworm, the gleaming light of the firefly, all spring from the same source. The infinite variety of crest and gorget among the iridescent hummingbirds, the glow of the trogon, the barbets among the palm blossoms, the exquisite plumage of the birds of paradise, the bulb and socket ornament of the Argus pheasant, the infinite hue of parrot and macaw, the strange bill of the gaudy toucan, and the crimson wattle of the turkey still tell one story. The sunbirds deck themselves for their courtship in ruby and topaz. Even the antlers of deer, the twisted horns of antelopes, and the graceful forms and dappled coats of so many other mammals have been developed in like manner by sexual selection. The very fish in the sea show similar results of aesthetic preferences. The butterfly fins of the gurnard and the courting colours of the stickleback have but one explanation. I need not elaborate this point. Darwin has already made it familiar to most of us. Throughout the animal world, almost every beautiful hue, almost every decorative adjunct is traceable to the action of the sexual instinct. Animals are pleasing to the eye just in proportion to the amount of aesthetic selection that their mates have exercised upon them, and they are most pleasing of all when most sexually vigorous, especially at the culminating point of the pairing season. Thus, even below the human level, we see that the instinct of sex has been instrumental in developing all the finest feelings which the lower creation shares with us or foreshadow for us. The sense of beauty, the sense of duty, parental responsibility, paternal and maternal love, domestic affection, song, dance, and decoration, the entire higher life in its primitive manifestation, pathos and fidelity, in a word, the soul itself in embryo, all rise from the love of the sexes. Human life shows us the same thing in a more advanced development. The tenderest and most pathetic element in life is love. Round it all art, all romance, all poetry circle. The loveliest object on earth for the sane and healthy mind is a beautiful girl, a beautiful woman. The loveliest object that art can represent in painting or sculpture is the nude male or female figure. Pure or half-draped, it supplies the base of all ideal artistic representation. Man is beautiful. Woman is beautiful. Both are most beautiful in the budding period and plenitude of their reproductive power, and love, which in itself is the most sacred and beautiful thing in the world, linked on every side with the tenderest affection for father, mother, sister, husband, and wife, for son or daughter. Love, thus lovely in its essence, has begotten among us all higher arts and all higher emotions. If we accept these deductions from natural science, and we must do this, we shall see that the sexual instinct has its foundations deep down in nature, and that it cannot, in its right relation, be a low or base passion. If it has accomplished so much, it must in some way be allied to creative power. But it is the chaste relation of the sexes that has done all this, not the unchaste relation. The chaste, wholesome, healthy relation of the sexes can do no harm, always does good. Their unchaste relations have been a curse from the beginning. From unchastity we have our weaklings, our incapable people, our half-made and good-for-nothings, our criminals, liars, thieves, our sensualists and our gluttons, our sexual diseases and our sensuality. These do not spring from a chaste relation of the sexes, but from an unchaste one. To understand the benefits of avoiding lustful thoughts, we must recognize how much of our thoughts influence our body's physiology. The intermediary between our thoughts and our physiology is in most cases our glandular systems. We know that thoughts of grief and sadness cause the lacrimal glands to secrete tears. We know that fear or anxiety causes the adrenal glands to release cortisol, which affects heart rate, blood pressure, and alertness. We know that thoughts of food can trigger salivation, and that thoughts and feelings of embarrassment can cause blood to rush to the face and blush. It has been said that a similar effect happens to the reproductive system, that when the mind is focused on thoughts of a sexual nature, the testes are activated and start producing sperm. Thoughts can alter our biology, which in turn affects our appearance. I think this is why the criminal often looks like a criminal. The perverted man often looks in many ways perverted. Of course there are exceptions, but for the most part our inner world is reflected in our outer appearance.